finish school and you either become a doctor or you become an engineer. So I was dropped into an engineering college without, I didn't want to do it.
So you've been through that.
Of course I've been through that. So I was there for 4 years, wasted my 4 years of my life there.
How have you seen the industry, the technology and everything evolving in the last 12 years?
We couldn't sell 5 units 13 years ago. Trying to have experience centers these days. And that's where India was really lacking. You go to the US or Europe and you walk into a music store,
feel everything.
You can go play a guitar you like or a keyboard or even listen to 100 speakers on the wall. But here, no. You can use auto-tune live, which is now happening, by the way, in the industry. Any live show you go, chances are the singers are being auto-tuned and it's coming out.
That's something you're disclosing.
It is true. It is true.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Making Sense with Deepit. दोस्तों, मैं हूं दीपित जैन, आपका होस्ट। स्वागत है आपका हमारे YouTube चैनल पर। आपने हमें Instagram पर बहुत प्यार और सपोर्ट दिया है और उसके लिए हम आपका बहुत शुक्रिया करते हैं। दोस्तों, मैं चाहूँगा कि आप हमारे YouTube चैनल को भी इसी तरीके से सपोर्ट करें ताकि हम अपने चैनल को ग्रो कर सकें और आपको वैल्यूएबल कंटेंट दे सकें। तो दोस्तों, आज हमारे साथ जो गेस्ट हमारी पॉडकास्ट पर हैं वो एक बहुत ही अकॉम्प्लिश्ड पियानिस्ट है, बहुत ही अच्छे ऑडियो इंजीनियर हैं, म्यूजिक प्रोग्रामर हैं और सबसे ज़्यादा एक बहुत ही शार्प और अच्छे मार्केटर हैं। दोस्तों, पिछले 12 साल में उन्होंने म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री को इवॉल्व होते हुए देखा है। 12 साल से वो प्रो म्यूजिकल्स के साथ एसोसिएटेड हैं, जो कि इंडिया के वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट इंपोर्टर्स और डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स हैं ऑडियो इक्विपमेंट और म्यूजिकल इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स के लिए। हमारे साथ आज हमारे स्टूडियो में हैं हेड ऑफ सेल्स एंड मार्केटिंग एट प्रो म्यूजिकल्स विविन कुरुविला। इस एपिसोड में हम उनकी जर्नी के बारे में जानेंगे, उनसे पूछेंगे कि पिछले 12 से 15 साल में उन्होंने इंडस्ट्री को कैसे इवॉल्व होते हुए देखा है और सबसे अच्छी बात, हम उनसे कुछ एक्सपर्ट एडवाइस भी लेंगे म्यूजिशियंस और ऑडियो प्रोफेशनल्स के लिए। तो दोस्तों, बहुत ही इंसाइटफुल कॉन्वर्सेशन होने वाला है। आप बने रहिएगा एपिसोड के एंड तक। तो चलिए शुरू करते हैं। हाय विविन, इट्स अ प्लेजर टू हैव यू हियर इन आवर स्टूडियो टुडे।
Pleasure indeed.
So Vivin, we'll start with understanding your journey. So you are first and foremost a musician. So how were you initiated into music?
Well, that started when I was a little kid, probably kindergarten.
Okay.
When I used to come back from school, there was a small little toy Casio which my dad used to play. I was never given access to it though. But then one fine day it was just lying there and I came and I started pressing all of these buttons and I was like, oh, some sound comes here, okay, that I didn't know C sharp, I didn't know anything. Okay, it makes a sound. And then I was trying to replicate the rhymes that I knew, that I was taught in school, and trying to make music out of it on the keyboard. So then I started playing around with the different keys and then finally I was playing with one finger.
Okay.
And then my parents saw that and they were like, this kid has something going.
Yes.
Let's move this forward. And that's when they put me into real classes.
So you started your formal training after
that. Yeah.
So it was keyboard from the beginning, basically.
All the way.
All the way keyboard.
Keyboard from the beginning, but then I got into piano.
Okay.
Acoustic piano. So initially it was keyboard and then I got into the Trinity College. I did all my grade 8s of classical piano.
Okay. Yeah. So then this was your initiation and learning of keyboards and pianos.
That's right.
Then how did you get into audio engineering? Was it the need of the hour at that time? Because I remember 15 years ago, there was a time, when everyone was crazy about Cakewalk and Cubase and Nuendo and all these softwares. So you were also intrigued by all those things. That's how you got into audio engineering?
So audio engineering came a whole lot later. So music took me into playing with bands and performing live. So I enjoyed that.
Okay.
But then you know how it is, right? You finish school and you either become a doctor or you become an engineer. So I was dropped into an engineering college without, I didn't want to do it.
So you've been through that.
Of course I've been through that. So I was there for 4 years, wasted my 4 years of my life there and then decided this is not my calling. And the worst part was when the first company that came for a campus interview was Cognizant, and I got my job also.
Okay.
So imagine a BE mechanical guy going into a computer science IT job. That would have been hell for me.
Exactly.
I said no.
Exactly.
I will not take this job. I will not do this. And then that's when I prompted my parents saying, this is what I want to do. Let me go and do audio engineering, because I was intrigued by studios, and because I used to perform. We used to get called into studios to perform in the studio, and all of the stuff there.
So
I didn't really know.
If you know about the stuff, it's always easier for the musician to, the engineer and the musician should understand each other's language, I guess. That's always better.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, now we've understood your musical initiation, then you're coming into audio engineering, music programming. Now, how did sales and marketing come about after that?
So, so there was a Yamaha Music Square in Chennai, Nippon Enterprises South. So the store manager who was handling the Music Square happened to know me. And at that point of time, I was teaching as well. Not only was I a performer and a studio musician, I was also an educator. I was teaching in one of Chennai's finest music schools. So we had done a lot of, I had done a lot of teaching for Nippon Enterprises as well, because they used to have these summer camps where people used to come and teach their students and things like that. So I had a rapport going on with the store manager. And then later on, he came across and told me, hey, we have an opening for sales. Are you interested? What is your plan in life? Are you going to be a full-time musician? What's your plan? And I was also kind of experimenting everything. I was a concert pianist. I was playing with a rock band. I was teaching. So I said, why not? That's when I joined Nippon Enterprises South as a Tamil Nadu sales guy for Yamaha, selling Yamaha Pro Audio.
So you started with Yamaha?
I started selling Yamaha stuff, exactly. So their digital line of mixers, the O2Rs, O1Vs, the LS9s, the DM series, studio monitors, MSPs, H's, all of that stuff.
So then after that, Pro Musicals, you joined Pro Musicals, and now I guess you've been associated with Pro Musicals for the last 12 years, I guess?
Yeah, 12.5.
And how have you seen the industry, the technology and everything evolving in the last 12 years? Because there are many brands which I see now in retrospect, 12, 15 years ago, which Pro Musicals was doing even then and is still doing. No one was even knowing about them. But now everyone is craving to have a piece of maybe a Focusrite interface or, an Apollo sound card or something like that. So how has that journey been over the last 12 years?
Well, Sudheen launched M Audio in India. It was there was no audio interface then. There was no fast tracks then. It was just a small little box called the MIDI Man. So he was cutting edge in that time, he was invaluable to the entire industry at that point, bringing cutting edge products at that point of time. But that was still the time of the studios. When I joined, there was still a whole lot of studios, and the home studio boom had really not happened. It was just about getting there. We did have Focusrites, and I remember even an 18i20, we used to find it hard to sell. We sell hundreds and hundreds of them now, but we couldn't even import one master carton. Which was just 5 units. Because we couldn't sell 5 units 13 years ago. And then over time, over the next few years was when the home studio market absolutely just started climbing.
Because I remember when I used to have my recording studios long back in 2010. So I called up Pro Musical once, and a gentleman picked up the call, and I asked them for a Scarlett Octo Pre. And it took about 3.5 months for the Octo Pre to arrive. So that was the time, and now it's like instant.
We have everything.
Everything is in stock.
We have everything.
So that means that the project and the home studio segment has evolved a great deal, and people have access to technology because it has become affordable now.
Of course.
So what all tools and strategies are you using to spread awareness about the products and make people aware, make musicians aware that a certain line of products is coming or is existing? Because sometimes it happens that products are there but musicians don't know about them. So what all methods do you use to spread awareness?
So we've got the offline and the online channels. So the offline channel will obviously be in-store marketing. We brand the stores, we do workshop in the stores, all of that kind of stuff. And then the online stuff would be digital marketing, like social media, YouTube, and all of that kind of stuff. And more than that, offline, we're really trying to have experience centers these days.
Okay.
And that's where India was really lacking. You go to the US or Europe and
Yeah,
you
you
walk
can
into a
actually
music
touch and
store,
feel everything.
you can go play a
Yes,
guitar you like or a
yes,
keyboard or even
yes.
listen to 100 speakers on the
Yes,
wall. You know what I
yes,
mean? They
yes,
literally have 100
yes,
speakers which you can
yes.
literally listen to whichever one you want. But here, no. So that's what we're really trying to cultivate on with the dealer, so that they come in and they have an experience center where customers can come and try something new. Because most people here are just buying things because a friend of theirs has it or their guru has it. They're not really trying before they're buying anything. It just goes by word of mouth.
So are you supporting dealers with some demo stock? Because as it happens in West, you know, how we see in maybe a Sweetwater store or maybe a guitar center, you know, when we go over there, so a lot of companies have a lot of demo stock which they have put up
Yeah.
for display and for people to try and listen to.
Yeah.
So are you supporting dealers over here with some demo stock so that, you know, they can actually enable the customers to get a hands-on experience?
100%.
Okay.
100%. Yes.
So-
We want them to do that. We encourage them so that that's the only way that you can break out of the rut and try something new.
So that's a informative thing for our viewers, that if anyone wants to try out a product promoted and sold by Pro Musicals, then they can actually ask an authorized dealer that
Yeah.
please arrange a demo unit for me, and
Sure.
I would like to listen to the speaker or maybe try out the keyboard or whatever.
Yes.
So that's a doable thing now.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
As a music programmer and a keyboardist, how do you see the integration of music with the modern technology? So what's your take on that?
Well, it goes hand in hand. A musician can't really, at this point, survive without technology. Because even a guitar player, if he's going to send something to someone, he's going to play something else, and he has to have the means to record himself and send it out. Even if it's not a full-fledged mix or a master, the basic tools required.
Even if they have to do a dummy recording.
A dummy recording, it now goes hand in hand. It was not back with the days where you had a musician and then you had an audio engineer and a studio. And then you would go to the engineer and he would record you.
Now
And
it's
you would,
more of a one-man show.
Now it's a one-man show. I
Yeah.
mean, the number of home studios there, every musician has an audio interface and a setup in his bedroom.
Yes.
And he's doing it and he's just sending it out.
Yes.
Yeah. So
So
it's,
that's a
that's
need
what-
of the hour,
it
and
is
you
the
know
need.
everyone should have certain basic equipments.
Absolutely.
So what's your suggestion to aspiring musicians and programmers who want to get into music production? What all basic equipment should they look at? You know.
Well, set a budget first and work within that budget. So obviously, if you're a singer, you need a microphone. If you're a musician, you probably need a good audio interface, a pair of speakers or headphones, and a controller, MIDI controller. So set a budget, see what's in your budget, and take it from there. And not to forget room acoustics, because that's where everybody gets it wrong.
That's the most important.
That's
you know?
where
Yeah.
everyone gets it wrong. Everybody buys an interface, a controller, a mic, a speaker, all of that is done, but they forget the room.
So you need to do certain
Yeah.
basic treatment techniques you need to apply
100%.
so that your room sounds tamed.
Yes.
The sound is controlled inside the room.
Yes.
Because many a times, you know, we've seen customers coming to us and they are confused between the two concepts of sound proofing and acoustics.
Yeah.
So generally people mistake these two
Correct.
as one and the same thing.
No,
But
it's not,
you know, I would like to tell our audience over here that soundproofing and room acoustics are two different things.
Yeah.
So basically, soundproofing is stopping the sound from inside to go outside and stopping the sound from outside to come inside. Whereas acoustics is taming of the sound within the room so that we get a controlled environment and our microphones and speakers respond in a nice way and a neutral way.
Yeah.
So, Vivin, two more things that you know we would like to we would like you to throw some light on. One is you know people are generally confused and they have a misconception that if you are a Mac user you will get better sound, and if you are a Windows user the sound will degrade or there will be some difference in the quality. So, do you feel it's true?
Absolutely not.
So it doesn't
No.
make any difference to the sound quality.
It doesn't make any difference to sound quality. Mac is just a more stable platform.
Okay.
So the chances of you screwing up a Mac is less.
So basically, by screwing up, you mean viruses.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
the viruses coming into a Mac system, the chances are less compared
Yeah.
to a Windows system.
Yeah.
And secondly, there is a big myth. We get customers at our showroom on a daily basis, and everyone is asking us which DAW to use. Now, I continuously tell them it really doesn't make any difference.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Because nowadays all the plugins you're using are mostly third party.
Exactly.
And your interface and microphone and monitors and
Yeah.
like you told, acoustics make the difference.
Correct.
So, but still, all said and done, what's your go-to DAW? What do you use personally?
I've recently been introduced to Luna, which is
Okay.
really, really cool because
So the
it's
UAD one. Okay.
Universal Audio
Yeah,
one.
we'll discuss on that further.
Correct. So that's a really cool DAW because I used to use Logic before this because I'm a Mac user, so
Okay.
it's natural to just flow
Yes,
into
yes,
Logic, and
yes.
it's a cheap audio interface.
Yes,
I
it's
should say
lesser
affordable.
priced. Yes,
Affordable.
yes.
So Luna was sonically doing something different.
Okay.
The same tracks you take it and throw it into Luna sonically just sounded
They'll
the
sound,
engine sounded better.
So, like you are able to hear more fidelity, more
Yes.
more instruments clearly, and the stereo imaging and everything. You are able to judge better in Luna.
Judge better in Luna, and it's a great programmer's. It's a programmer's tool.
Because I've heard that the final mix bus engine is also very effective in Luna.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is, and a lot of tools, like I said, for a programmer. So if you're trying to get a song done, I think it has all the tools necessary for you to just get going.
So now, Vivin, let's talk about one of my favorite brands in the audio industry. That's Universal Audio. So Universal Audio is not just an audio brand, as I convey it to my customers always. It's basically an ecosystem.
Yeah.
And they've got audio interfaces right from the starting level. That's the Volt series. Then you've got the Apollo Solos, then the Apollo Twins, racks. You've got satellites, you've got microphones, modeling microphones.
Plugins.
So just tell us about that ecosystem in brief so that, the audience can get a hang of what UAD is all about.
Right. So like you said, it's an ecosystem. So starting from the DAW.
Okay.
And your audio interface, which is a bridge between your microphone or your instrument and the DAW. So you've got a variety of audio interfaces depending in which price range you have, in which price you want to buy. And then you've got plugins. And Universal Audio plugins are some of the best plugins used by every Grammy award-winning engineer on the planet.
So here I would like to point out that the UAD plugins are actually modeling and emulation of the real hardwares.
That's right.
So that's what many people are getting confused about. So like suppose you have a Manly massive passive. So basically UAD guys have modeled the massive passive and put it in a plugin form. Is that right?
That's right. So if you have the money to buy a massive passive, go ahead and buy it.
Okay.
But if you want the next best thing to a massive passive,
Okay.
there is none other than a UAD
plugin.
massive
So like the UAD guys have some contract or something with all these big brands?
Yes,
so that
they
no
do.
other brand can reproduce that?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes, they do.
So it's exclusive.
And that applies for Neve, SSL,
so many, all the big brands. Yes,
all
yes.
the big brands.
So basically, all the big brands you get in one kitty, and you can just purchase
Yeah.
You can just purchase plugins and apply them in your recordings.
Absolutely.
So you get a very warm and sound of that hardware into the digital platform.
And not just in the studio, but live as well.
Okay, so that
right.
can be applied on stage as well.
On stage without latency. And
Okay.
that's what's cool. That's why they have DSP built into their Apollos.
Mm-hmm.
So either a dual core, quad core, or an octo core,
Yes,
depending on what you
yes.
buy.
Mhm.
You can use these plugins live. Let's say you can use auto-tune live, which is now happening, by the way, in the
Okay.
industry.
Mhm.
Any live show you go, chances are the singers are being auto-tuned and it's coming out.
Okay.
Right. Not heavy auto-tune, but just to make sure they're on
so
point.
that's something you're disclosing.
It is true. It is true. Yeah, it is happening.
that's a
in the
fact.
industry. It is a fact.
That's a
It is a
fact.
fact.
Okay.
And you can use it.
So you mean to say that nowadays, even in the big shows, like there is a Rahman show or something.
Yeah.
So basically, you've got a rack of Apollo interfaces, and then you've got a computer which is running the UAD plugins, and you're taking the out and putting it into the FOH mixer. That's how it works?
That was how it worked until about now, until just a few months ago when they
Okay.
released the Apollo X16D,
Okay.
which is a Dante version of the Apollo X16D.
Oh, so through a single cable now you can
Right. So you
Okay.
don't need to have an Apollo on stage.
Okay.
All inputs come into your front of house mixing console.
Okay.
And right next to the mixing console, you can have a single 1U Apollo X16D,
Okay.
which is connected to, let's say it's a Digico, right?
Okay.
It's connected to a Digico with one Dante cable, one
Okay.
Ethernet
So all the
cable.
16 channels will go through that
Yes.
cable.
So your inputs are coming into the console, your gain staging on the console, and the inserts of the console, that level, it goes out into the Apollo. You have your UAD plugins, and then comes back to your fader.
Okay. And how many such Apollos can you run in tandem? Because, there might be situations when you want more than 16 I/O.
4.
So basically, you can run 64 channels at one time. Okay, so that's quite a lot of number of channels.
Absolutely.
Okay. And one more thing, many people are confused about the Spark plugin bundle in UAD and the actual UAD plugin. So what's the difference? Is there any difference in the quality, or are they same but they only run without DSP?
They only run without DSP. It's the exact same plugin, exact same sound. Everything is the same, just that they don't need to have the UAD2 core in your Apollo. They can run natively in your computer itself, because computers are getting faster, right? Your MacBooks are getting faster and faster by the day.
Yes.
So you don't really need the cores anymore.
Okay.
So if you are transitioning into Spark, they will just run natively on your system.
So if suppose a person has already purchased, say, a Manly plugin, or maybe a UAD channel strip or something like that, or maybe a Neve channel strip. So now those same things are available in Spark bundle also?
So Spark is a subset right now. The entire bundle is not available. It's just a small portion of those. So if that plugin is available in Spark, and if you don't have a DSP core running, it'll automatically switch to the native version of it and run
So
in
the
your computer.
sound and the processing will be absolutely same. Only difference is that the processing will now happen on your computer.
That's right.
Rather than it happening on the
Apollo's
Apollo sound
DSP
card.
built in. Yeah, that's
So I'll just explain this in Hindi little bit for our Hindi viewers. तो बेसिकली क्या होता है कि UAD साउंड कार्ड्स के अंदर चिप्स लगे होते हैं, जिसे हम DSP चिप्स कहते हैं, जिसके अंदर डिजिटल सिग्नल प्रोसेसिंग होती है. तो आपके कंप्यूटर में अगर इतनी पावर नहीं है कि वहां पर प्लगइन्स को प्रोसेस कर सकें, और आपका सिस्टम ज़्यादा प्लगइन लगाने से झटके मारता है, हैंग होता है, तो आप UAD कार्ड जब लगाएंगे तो सारी प्लगइन्स की प्रोसेसिंग जो है वो आपके UAD कार्ड पर होगी, ताकि आपके सिस्टम पर लोड नहीं पड़ेगा. तो ये एक बहुत बड़ा फायदा है UAD कार्ड्स का. और अब जो स्पार्क बंडल आया है वो सेम सेट ऑफ प्लगइन्स है, यानी कि अगर UAD के 400 प्लगइन है तो उसमें से अभी 40 प्लगइन उन्होंने स्पार्क बंडल के तौर पर निकाले हैं, पर वो स्पार्क बंडल आपके सिस्टम के प्रोसेसर पर रन करता है. उसको अलग से रन करने के लिए कोई DSP की जरूरत नहीं होती. Right, Vivin. So now let's talk about another star brand that you have at Pro Musicals, that's Native Instruments.
Absolutely.
So we get a very common question every day. We are facing this, that Native Instruments is primarily known as a brand for DJs. Now, obviously, they have come out with the control series of the keyboards. But talking about the DJ side of Native Instruments first. So people ask us that, can you use a controller like, say, the S4 MK3 to play a big festival like a Sunburn Festival or something?
Absolutely.
Because, generally people have this misconception that for playing a big party or a big festival, you need some CDJs or something. So please tell us about that.
Absolutely.
So it has all the features.
It's got everything that you need, because you're controlling Tractor. Tractor is the software, and that's what everybody's really going after, the features that Tractor has to offer. And then you have a hardware that integrates so perfectly with that, with the software, so seamlessly, that it's just perfect. So you're controlling the software, and it's got great outputs, fantastic outputs for live.
So basically, if anyone has a Native Instruments controller like the Z1, X1, S2 or the S4, so they can just connect their laptop, and that's all they need.
That's all
they should have their library of the songs in the laptop, and they can play party of any size.
Any size.
Okay.
It can be a bedroom, beach house, club, big stadiums, no problem.
Okay, so that's a very interesting thing, because many a times people are confused about this. And yes, one more thing, do the S2 and S4 come along with the full version of the Tractor software?
Yes.
Both of them come.
Both of them.
The latest version of the Tractor software. So that's another added advantage that native users will have, because many of the other companies making DJ controllers in this range are not offering full versions of the software right now. So that's another interesting fact for the listeners. And also tell us about the concept of the control series of keyboards of Native Instruments. So what are they all about? How are they different from the other MIDI keyboards in the market?
Two things I would say: integration and visual. So the way Native Instruments hardware integrates with their software is just seamless.
Okay.
It's phenomenal. So the
So
moment
which,
you just
which software are you talking about in particular over here?
any plugin that Native Instruments makes and 70 other manufacturers who they've partnered with.
Okay.
Yeah, like Korg and Spitfire. And
You're
all
talking
of
about the
these guys.
VST instruments,
Yes,
basically.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, the
okay.
VST instruments. Not just Native, but 70 plus other manufacturers. So there's a protocol called NKS, Native Control Standard.
Okay.
So as long as you have the original version of the plugin,
Okay.
whether it's NI or 70 other brands,
Okay.
it will all seamlessly integrate with your MIDI controller.
So it's like you have plugged in your MIDI keyboard to the laptop.
Yes.
You've opened, say, a DAW like Logic
Yes.
or maybe Cubase or whatever. You load up a plugin,
Right.
which is part of that category,
Yes.
with which Native integrates.
Yes.
And you mean to say automatically all the buttons on the
entire
keyboard will
keyboard-
automatically map themselves?
The keyboard just comes to life,
Okay.
starting from your LEDs on every
Okay.
key, the screens, the splits, the whole key, everything is MIDI mapped for you.
Okay, so
There's
you can
no
basically-
MIDI mapping.
You can basically control the entire plugin from the keyboard. You
From
don't
the
need to
keyboard.
touch the mouse.
No. So
Okay.
every time I go around doing workshops, the first thing I tell people in front of me is watch how many times I touch the mouse. And
Exactly.
it's usually just to minimize
Yes.
a window or maximize
Yes,
it.
but
never,
not to
never
make
to
any
even,
musical adjustment.
No, not
Okay.
even to load a plugin.
Okay.
Not even
oh,
to
even you
load.
can load the plugin from there.
From the keyboard.
Okay.
So imagine you were using a Korg or a Yamaha or a Roland workstation. You would be predominantly looking at that screen and working
yes.
from the screen.
Yes,
right?
yes.
It is like that.
Okay.
So you're never really reaching out to your keyboard or your mouse to do
Okay.
anything. You're doing everything from the controller.
Okay. Okay. So it's basically taking advantage of the brain of the computer, and they've made that controller in such a way that
It integrates.
very seamlessly with the
Yes.
software.
Yes.
Okay. And I guess obviously it has a very nice feel to the keys.
Fatar.
Fatar
Can't
keypad.
be-
Okay, can't be
get
better than that.
Can't get
then,
better than
yes.
that. Yeah.
And what all key configurations are they coming in?
49, 61, and 88.
Oh, so 25 is not coming right now.
Not in the S series.
Not in
That's
the new
A.
series.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. In the A series, 25
It's
is
available.
coming.
Yes. In the A
So
series.
what is the primary difference between the A and the S series?
So it's basically the screen and the visual aspect for me. So it's the S series has a nice big screen, HD screen, the biggest that is there on any MIDI controller. By the way, it's
Okay.
literally that big.
Okay.
So that one's not there on the A, and even the light guide. So every key has an LED light on it,
Okay.
which lets you. Let's say if you open a string ensemble,
Okay.
which is cellos, double basses, violins, violas.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you have an S series keyboard, it's all lit in different
Okay.
colors. So you know
Okay.
where the double basses are, where the cellos are, where the violins,
Okay.
violas are, violins are.
Okay.
It's all just colored for you.
So even
very
in
visual.
even in a dark environment,
Yeah.
you can just make out where I need to play what.
Even a
Okay.
drum set.
Drum
All
set.
kicks
okay.
will be one color, all
Okay.
snares will be another
Okay.
color, all the cymbals will be another
Okay.
color. So you don't have to sit and find where things
So it's
are.
very interactive for the musician,
Interact.
basically.
So those few things are what are not what's not there in the
Okay.
A, while the
Okay.
S has all that.
So you as a marketer are also doing Novation as a brand.
Yes.
So how do you position Novation and Native Instruments keyboards? So the primary difference between the two would be integration with the software, because I'm sure Novation would also be having certain advantages and certain feel to it,
Yeah.
because that's also a very popular brand.
Absolutely.
So how do you go about marketing both at the same times? Isn't it contradictory for you?
Not really, because in the lower end segment, we'll be talking about the A series from Native Instruments and the Launch Key series.
Okay.
The Launch Key has a lot more control on it. It's got pads, RGB pads,
Like
it's
the
got
faders and
it's
everything.
got
Okay.
knobs.
That
Well, if
the
you-
A series doesn't have.
The A series doesn't
Okay,
have. So the Native Instruments keyboard is predominantly to control complete and their set of NKS things,
Okay.
because it has a different way of how it approaches.
Okay.
But if you're not just using NKS, and if you're using a whole bunch of different other plugins that you have, and you just really want tactile controls that you are willing to MIDI map yourself, then the Launch Key is perfect, because that gives you all of that. And then when you go to the top end version, which is the SL series from
Yeah,
Novation,
Novation, yes.
that is amazing if you have a whole lot of keyboards around you and you wanted one master controller.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can control 5 other keyboards from one MIDI controller.
Oh, so you mean you have a launch key, you have maybe something
Even
from
if it's a synth.
Arturia
Yeah.
and any other brand, so you can control that from the SL series.
Or from the SL series.
Okay,
So
that's
it's like a
interesting.
master controller.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's something new for the listeners also.
Yes.
So one more, one more thing, that is Novation primarily for Ableton and FL, or
Yes.
they can be used for any DAW for that matter?
They're predominantly made for Ableton and FL.
They're like auto-mapped.
Auto-mapped for it, but of
Okay.
course it's a MIDI controller. You can
do mapping for any
Yeah, you can map
DAW.
anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Vivin, as we come to the end of the podcast, I would like you to give some expert advice for musicians and aspiring audio professionals. What all would you want to tell them from the point of view of learning music, to learning audio engineering, to marketing themselves, to making a career out of this?
Well, if you're a musician, I think you should just put in the time. No one's really putting in time these days and they just want quick results. It never happens. Put in the time, put in the work, get your craft in order, and then also integrate technology with it. So learn how to record yourself and be self-sufficient is what I would say. And also, before you buy an instrument or before you buy anything tech, if it's an audio interface or a studio monitor or a microphone, I would always recommend that you try before you buy and not just follow people or follow what you hear on the internet. Use your ears and try something and then feel what it plays like, or try an instrument out before you buy. All of these things will really help you get what you want, because half the time people buy something and then they're not happy with it.
Because they did not get an opportunity to try it
To
first.
even try.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
So first and foremost, a musician needs to master the craft,
Yeah.
whether they're a guitarist or a pianist or a tabla player or a singer, whatever.
Correct.
Then they need to go into the audio engineering part of it.
Right.
Because I guess that has become very important, even for a musician, if he understands the different sets of frequencies and how everything sounds and how consoles and speakers are integrated, so
Yeah.
they can do a good job during the sound check. And they can actually help the technician to shape their sound.
Absolutely.
So after understanding that, only they should come into the market and market themselves and start performing.
And that happens only when you have a treated room, when you are monitoring flat.
Yes.
If you're listening to everything that's colored, then that's what's in your head. So when you go out, then you
your
expect
reference is wrong in the
all
first
wrong.
place.
Yeah. So make sure that your room is treated, even if it's not with too much of acoustics, at least with software. We've got a software called Sound ID, which helps you calibrate your room.
Okay.
So all of these things are tools that can help you have a decent sounding room, and then the equipment so that you get the right translation in the end.
Right, Vivin. So it's been a very interesting conversation, and I thank you once again that you took out time from your busy schedule and came to our studio. So
Anytime.
thank you so much.
Love doing this. Thank you.
तो दोस्तों, जैसा कि आपने देखा और विविन ने बताया कि सबसे ज़रूरी चीज़ म्यूज़िक इंडस्ट्री में है, जब भी आप कोई इंस्ट्रूमेंट खरीद रहे हैं या कोई इक्विपमेंट खरीद रहे हैं, तो आपको उसको एक्सपीरियंस करना है. और यही चीज़ हम इंश्योर करते हैं और एनकरेज करते हैं दिल्ली साउंड स्टोर पर. आप सबका हमेशा वेलकम है. आप हमारे शोरूम और एक्सपीरियंस सेंटर में आ सकते हैं और अपना मन चाहा इंस्ट्रूमेंट और ऑडियो गियर खरीदने से पहले जी भरकर ट्राई कर सकते हैं. दोस्तों, आप हमारे YouTube चैनल को लाइक, शेयर और सब्सक्राइब ज़रूर कीजिए और हमारे इंस्टाग्राम पेज को फॉलो कीजिए, क्योंकि आपका सपोर्ट हमें कॉन्फिडेंस देता है और हमें इस काबिल बनाता है कि हम अपने चैनल को ग्रो कर सकें और अच्छे से अच्छे गेस्ट्स आपके लिए हम अपने स्टूडियो में इनवाइट कर सकें. तो दोस्तों, मिलते हैं फिर अगले एपिसोड में. तब तक के लिए स्टे इंस्पायर्ड, स्टे क्रिएटिव एंड कीप मेकिंग म्यूजिक.